coming to a close and frightening characters coming out in the open, Dave Doran leads his NC State Wolfpack into an upset-minded battle with the number 3 Clemson Tigers. And Dabo Swinney certainly doesn't need Halloween to remind him playing in North Carolina can be scary. We are in Raleigh, North Carolina, as the NC State Wolfpack plays host to the number 3 Clemson Tigers. Clemson controls its destiny in the ACC's Atlantic Division with the Florida State showdown on the horizon. At 1-2, NC State cannot afford another conference loss. Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Patrick, Ed Cunningham. It's great to have you with us. Dr. Jerry Punch will join us shortly. With the playoff committee rankings coming out for the first time on Tuesday, Clemson has already moved up to number 3 in the Associated Press poll. Ed, where does Clemson factor in the national picture?
We've seen Ohio State, we've seen Michigan State, we've seen Stanford the start of the season. This will be our second time seeing Clemson, clearly one of the top 4 teams in the country. Now, but that's now, and they've got a big test today against a very good NC State team. But if you're Clemson, you have to feel really good about where this program is. The team's doing great, but just the program in general is so healthy. Of course, they're explosive on offense. They've been that for a while, but where the improvement has been is on defense. Last year, best defense in the nation, only returned 3 starters. They may be better by the end of this season than they were last year. And oh, by the way, they can do a bunch of different stuff out of this offense because they have a franchise quarterback. And I know that's an NFL term, but Deshaun Watson, in only his 13th start as a Clemson starting quarterback, has really taken over and become the leader of this team.
It has been a long time since the North Carolina State Wolfpack program has been relevant nationally or even in the ACC, but in only his 3rd year, Dave Doran has made this a relevant football team, and they may be good enough to be a threat to someone even as good as Clemson is.
The front for Dave Doran, the defensive front for Dave Doran, is as good as Clemson's going to see all year. And if Clemson has one little weakness, it's a young, inexperienced offensive line. And they have weapons on offense now at NC State. For Dave Doran, they picked up Jacoby Brissette from Florida when he transferred out of there. And this is a guy who gives you nightmares. Completely free, a defender comes, and he's big and balanced, and he's terrific on the run. Great off his back foot, turns his shoulders. He has improved his accuracy downfield his senior year tremendously. Last week against Wake Forest, they had 50. NC State had 4 50-yard touchdowns in the first quarter, and a lot of it was because they have a real burner at running back. Matthew Hayes can make you look silly. He will get to the secondary, a very good one for Clemson. If he can make them miss, this will be a very interesting day.
Let's go to the sidelines. Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Thanks, Mike, and hello, everybody. Folks, the Clemson Tigers have won 35 consecutive games against unranked opponents. In fact, their last loss, you guessed it, right here at Carter Finley in Raleigh back in 2011. Now, on that day, just like today, the Tigers came in highly ranked and heavily favored against the Wolfpack team that was playing its homecoming game. NC State's explosive offense scored 27 unanswered points in the second quarter. Their defense forced 4 turnovers and logged 6 sacks. And when it was over, the Wolfpack had pulled off a shocking 37-13 upset over the 7th-ranked Tigers. Now, Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney knows that his Tigers have proven each week this year they are one of the very best teams in all of college football. But Dabo also knows this is a very difficult, very loud, and very dangerous place to play. Mike?
Jerry, sellout crowd here. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful Saturday afternoon in late October. Clemson won the toss. They deferred to the second half. So North Carolina State will get the football. Nyheim Hines is deep to receive. Hines second in the ACC in kickoff returns, averaging 27.4 yards a pop. Eamon Lacob, who has put nearly half of his kickoffs into the end zone, has it teed up at the 35-yard line. And we are underway in Raleigh. Hines lets it go, and they'll start from the 25-yard line. Last year on the biggest stage he could find against then number 1 Florida State, Jacoby Brissette had his best game. He threw for more than 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, did not throw a pick. This season, he has a terrific ratio of touchdowns to interceptions, 10-1. And he's completing 67% of his passes. That is 17th in the FBS.
And his head coach, Dave Doran, has called him a man on the mission. Man on the mission this offseason. He had his own two-a-day sessions all summer long. And all of these guys remember the game against Clemson last year. Goose egg. They were shut out up at Clemson last season.
Brissette throws it in the flat to Braylon Cherry, and Cherry takes it out to the 38-yard line before he's stopped by J-Ron Curse, a gain of 13.
Brissette, a guy who transferred from Florida. He started his first game ever at Florida as a true freshman against LSU. We asked him about that game yesterday. He said, I actually went back and watched it to see the mistakes I made and how far I've come. He really has played himself into an NFL-level prospect and has given this NC State chance for a special end of the season.
Matthew Days finds a seam, 50, 40, still on his feet inside the 25 to the 20-yard line. 42 yards through the middle of the Clemson defense.
This is where Days can make you miss. He is so good. Excellent blocking at the point of attack. I mean, just tremendous blocking by Quentin Schooley, the center. Completely turned the defensive lineman. And that is a save by Tankersley. But this guy can really scoot and cut. He just didn't quite have that top gear. Tankersley, without the ball, able to track him down. Big play.
This is against the fourth-ranked defense in the country. Brissette knocked away, incomplete. The linebacker Travis Blanks had the coverage in the flat. Travis Blanks, a kid you have to root for. He had 2 ACL surgeries during his career.
And there are a ton of Clemson fans here, obviously nearby. They always travel well, but he had a beat on this. Blanks was a free safety as a freshman in 2012. He tore his ACL the next year, tore it again last year, but he had a jump on that. If that ball wasn't thrown accurately, which Brissette is, he's very accurate, that could have been going the other way.
They used multiple tight ends. Here they had 2 set to the right side of the formation. Under center, Brissette. Days trying to cut back, swallowed up as he got to the 20-yard line. And Ben Boulware's the second leading tackler on this ball club. Played a lot last year, although he was not a starter, which is the same as many of these Clemson defenders.
Dabo Sweeney, the head coach, we were talking to him this week. He said, everyone kept asking, with all the guys leaving to the NFL for defense, how bad we were going to be. He said, no, we're going to be really good. We have a lot of depth, and those depth guys are going to play in the NFL too. Boulware, a guy who they call the quarterback of this defense. Brent Venables, the defense coordinator, says if we lose him, we may have some problems. He really is a great communicator.
3 wide receivers to the top of your screen. Brissette sheds a tackler, tries to get rid of another one, and then dumps it off to his running back, Matthew Days, who was the second leading receiver on this ball club, and they are very close to a first down.
And I think NC State has to think about going for it here against Clemson. The way they've been rolling on offense is to go for it down. You're good enough. We're good enough on at the offensive line. We're good enough at running back, but I think this is something you let Brissette keep in his hands. Let Jacoby Brissette move out of the pocket. He's big, elusive, can throw on the run very accurately. Great call.
Option look. Brissette with a keeper. Touchdown, NC State. J-Ron Curse went with the pitch man, and there was nobody to take Brissette. He's listed at 235 pounds, but I guarantee you he's bigger than that.
That was a knife through butter. That's a shocking start for a very, very good Clemson defense. And this NC State team, they lost 2 in a row. They took a bye week. They had just a real knockdown, drag-out, almost training camp to get some defensive things fixed. But offensively, with Brissette running things and a blocked PAT.
Kyle Bambard has this one blocked. This is a live ball. Clemson, if they go all the way, can score.
This is remembering Georgia Tech last weekend against Florida State. This is 2 points.
Mackenzie Alexander dragged down at the 27. Ran about 150 yards. If he had taken it back, it would have been worth a point for the, 2 points for the Clemson defense. But they take him down to the 32. Still, great start for the Wolfpack. It's the universal coach's mantra, one game at a time. And they have been beautifully focused, but they took a shot in the mouth on the opening possession from the Wolfpack.
Well, if we've learned anything about Clemson, that 2011 loss to an unranked, although very good NC State team, those days are gone. This is a well-built program. People have bought into his vision, his energy. They'll bounce back.
Fuller and McLeod are deep to return. Ray McLeod has the seam. Kicker slowed him down, and then they make the tackle near the 45-yard line. A 44-yard return. Deshaun Watson, brilliant as a starter early in his career. He is 11-1. In last week's blowout of Miami, he rushed for a career-high 98 yards and a touchdown. Also threw a pass for a touchdown. He's completed almost 70% of his passes this year, which puts him in the top 10 in major college football.
Clemson ran for 400-plus last week. The week before against Boston College threw for 400-plus, so they can do it a bunch of ways.
Gallman, huge hole over the right side. Gallman down the sideline into NC State territory at the 39. Tyrone Crowder, the sophomore right guard, pulled and cleared the way for a gain of 18.
This is the biggest surprise for Clemson. The coaches have said, we weren't sure we were going to have much of a run game, but Wayne Gallman has been running, quote, by Dabo Swinney, like he can't be tackled. He has really improved over his frost year last season.
Little flip into the sideline for Artavis Scott.
What's the final score of this one going to be at this pace?
50-49, last team with the ball wins.
They don't flinch. You know, I give Clemson a ton of credit. We've been around this program a lot the last 3 or 4 years, and just to see their growth and how they use guys like Scott, who has just such great power in his lower body, good in the open field, and they're answering.
Watson is so calm and under control. Gallman again slips a tackle, gets a block, gets it inside the 25 to the 24-yard line. They would love to see Gallman run a little lower and get under his pads, but that's his style. He runs high.
Watch the move on Dravius Wright, the nickelback who comes in. Just ducked his head for a second, and Gallman more a power slasher, adding a little miss to his package.
Watson, keeper. He's a terrific runner. Deshaun Watson, touchdown.
I just saw something from Watson that I wasn't sure of. That was elite speed. When he got and turned the corner, Hakeem Jones, the safety, had an angle on him, and I thought the tackle was going to be at about the 12-yard line. Watch the safety at the top. He outruns him right there. A bad angle by Jones, but those couple of steps as he made him miss, I didn't know that Watson had quite that gear. I hadn't seen it, but that was a smooth acceleration for the QB.
The point after by Hugel for the lead is good. We have Doug Rhodes, the former supervisor of ACC officials, with us. He may not do that job. He's going to have to help the scoreboard operator who's working on carpal tunnel syndrome. Earlier this week, the coach's kids were treating Clemson players to a little trick-or-treat. Little role reversal there.
Little Red Riding Hood, is that what that is there? It's a good one.
Hines will bring it out. Got a couple of good blocks. Hines, it's a foot race, and they're not going to get him. 100 yards. Hello. My previous guess of 50 to 49 may be a little low. Holy cow, what a run.
Well, when we talked to the coaches, they talked about this young man's world-class speed, the true freshman. You can see the quality of speed going up at NC State with the great recruiting efforts by Doran and his staff in the first 3 years. And the special teams are an actual weapon now for NC State.
12 seconds to go, 100 yards in pads. That's heat.
This was terrific blocking. There were no free white jerseys. And when you're on a kickoff, we saw Lakehead kick it into the end zone about 7 or 8 yards deep. This one gets right just about the 1. But look, there's just nobody home. And an overrun by the safety, Jaron Curse. Curse is the last guy who has a real chance here. The kicker just gets outrun going back to the middle. But Curse, who is a starting safety, overran it a touch. He was the last guy who could have been home. Overran it, misread it because of good blocks and Hines' world-class speed. Hines is one of those track names, isn't it? That guy really looked. Yes. I mean, when just like we saw with Watson stretch out his stride to beat the safety, that time's Hines at about the 50. His stride got a little bit longer, and he walked away from folks.
Now, these are 2 of the top 4 defenses in the country. We have played 3 minutes and 56 seconds, and we have 3 touchdowns already.
But the defense has only given up 2 of those 3, technically.
Remember when we talked to Dave Doran on Friday? He said our special teams are better. So far, he's absolutely right.
Well, they've been much better in the punt return game. Terry's got a touchdown, had it last week against Wake Forest on a punt return.
Ray McLeod, excuse me. Gallman stopped by a collection of red jerseys.
Yeah, but a first down run for 4.5 yards, that's a good start. This is going to be one of those games. And now Gallman will have to come out because his helmet came off, unless Clemson used a timeout to save it, which you know, with depth there at running back. But this is feeling like a game that's going to be last guy who has it wins.
Zach Brooks checks in, number 24. Missed all of last year. He would have been their starting running back. Post right down the middle to a wide open Hunter Renfrow touchdown. 57 yards. We've now played 4:33, and there have been 4 touchdowns.
This guy Renfrow is something else. A redshirt freshman who was a walk-on last year going one-on-one against Sean Boone. And watch the move he puts to the outside, 1 foot in the ground, and it's man-on-man coverage because of the run game. NC State has guys up around the line of scrimmage because Gallman and Watson are able to run. Renfrow gets out there one-on-one, and what a great find for Clemson as a redshirt freshman put him on scholarship, and another block.
Another block PAT. Special teams have already been huge in this game with a 100-yard kick return and 2 block kicks. And we're tied at 13. This is why Renfrow won the starting job, that speed.
This is the guy who's supposed to give a little help, but you can see on this side, there is one man in the middle of the field because NC State has everybody over to the power side of the position, so it ends up being man coverage while it's zone underneath with the linebacker. When you get to that safety level, you got to be with that guy. And so it ends up being man-on-man. It looks like it's zone, and Deshaun Watson, who is as good as any quarterback, hanging in the pocket, good protection by the offensive line. But this guy, Renfrow, he's going to end up, I'll just say this now, I think Renfrow, if he stays healthy and plays all 4 years, I think he'll leave this school as the #1 receiver. If NC State scores quickly, Clemson fans should just relax. No hands to the faces. Just take a deep breath. You'll be fine.
All Hines wants is another chance. Takes this 5 yards deep. Neither team has shown any ability to stop the other so far. Fake to Days. Brissette. Nice throw. Samuels, who is listed as a H-back, fullback type guy, but splits out a lot, is the leading receiver on this ball club. Matthew Day's the running back, the second leading receiver.
And that was a triple layered route as Brissette rolled to his right, and this is as tight a window as there is. That is Jaron Curse, all 6'5" of him closing in on Samuels. You can't throw that ball better, and the confidence they have in Samuels to catch it is pretty impressive.
Brissette, little option look, shovel pass to Days. That's only good for a couple as Kevin Dodd makes another tackle. Kevin Dodd was a kid who was lightly recruited in high school when Brent Venables came here for the first time as the defensive coordinator. He was trying to assess the players he had, and he went to Dabo Swinney and said, this guy can't play. He's never going to be able to play. And Dodd was a kid who just worked his fanny off until he got an opportunity, and he has been a big-time defensive end for them.
Well, but at 275, he clearly still has his fanny. So he did work hard, but not that hard. But Venables was a guy who, when he came here, he had been a player at Kansas State and worked under the Stoops brothers on defense, then went with basically all of his pals to Oklahoma, and he reached out to Dabo Swinney. He wanted to change. He wanted to be challenged. In that first game in 2012 against Auburn, he said he had an out-of-body experience. He didn't know anybody. He didn't know the pregame routine. He had a guy, Dodd, who recruited that didn't know how to defend the zone read option. But, wow, have they built just a machine here on defense since he's gotten here.
Third down, Gillespie, number 25, checks into the backfield. Samuels is the man in motion. Blitz coming. Brissette under pressure, gets away again, ball's loose. Clemson has it. Brissette made the first man miss, then had it knocked out of his hands. It laid on the ground for about 2 seconds. B.J. Goodson, the middle linebacker, swiped down on his wrist and knocked it away, and it's Clemson football. You're watching the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive game of the week, and what a game it has been so far. 13-13 early first quarter. Gallman bursts straight up the middle, picked up 10. Arius Moore has been moved to the middle linebacker spot this week, made the tackle, but it's another first down.
That was a big turnover for momentum. It felt like you're going back and forth, and all of a sudden Clemson takes serve, it feels like.
Clemson dominating the line of scrimmage. Gallman on the option. Hit and taken down by Burris.
Burris is a guy that when we were talking to the Clemson coaches, they couldn't stop talking about 11. Right. The other coaches always say 11, right. 11. And Clemson has looked at, what they look at in tape is who can you beat deep? Who has given up passes of 16 or more yards? And they said the cornerback Burris, very good in the run. He hasn't been beat deep this year. The Clemson study showed that number 11 for NC State has not given up a long throw all season.
He is a very physical corner as well. Watson with time, rifles the post inside the 10. Complete to Jordan Leggett. Hakeem Jones had to make the stop. That's a tough matchup. Leggett is an enormous target.
And Leggett now over to the left. They're trying to find different ways to get him the ball. This is a screen setup potentially.
Watson on the keeper. He'll lose a yard. Taken down by Arius Moore again.
There's Leggett, who's such a smooth runner and a great route runner. Has the last 5 games a Clemson record, 1 touchdown per game, had a wonderful catch and touchdown on a frozen lineman play last week against Miami.
And he is a mismatch down here. They have him in the slot right. Watson, little quarterback draw, nowhere to go. And the Wolfpack defends that one very, very well. Once again, Arius Moore, big number 58.
Dave Huxtable, the defensive coordinator, needs a ton of credit for what he's done. 7 times this year, the opponents have been first and goal inside the 10. They've stopped them 3 of those, almost 50% of the time. And here you've got a 3rd and long for goal situation. And once again, Dave Doran's defense standing up.
Watson floats it, intended for his tight end, who went inside. Maybe an option route, and he threw it outside, so they'll have to go for the field goal.
Well, no, this was a redirect of a route, is what this is called, Mike, where Hakeem Jones, the 6'2 safety, did an awesome job. They were looking right to Leggett. They felt like they had it right there. And watch the excellent technique by Jones. Hands on, which is totally legal, redirects the route. That's a win for NC State. What a huge win after that turnover.
He was standing right where Leggett wanted to go. Hugel has come on. He will try a 29-yard field goal to give Clemson the lead, and he drills it. So still 3:29 to go in the first half, and it's 16-13 Tigers.
And this is a big day. He told us yesterday that as many as 50 top recruits from the area would be here for this game, both for Clemson and for NC State. They knew they'd have a good environment, but Dave Doeren came in and said, we want to own this state. We want to be the state university of football here in this state. And his recruiting has shown they may be on the way, even though UNC's playing well.
The kids who play offense are very impressed so far. Hines, again, already has a 100-yarder to his credit.
Remember, the receivers coaches here, they've developed great relationships. People trust them. They're well coached. It's really impressive what Dave Doeren has been able to build in 3 years. This is going to be a very competitive, right at the level of Clemson, Florida State, I think, over the next 5 or 6 years.
And you saw how many young kids they have played and how few seniors there are. And Jerry, you understand this program very well. You played here.
Absolutely, Mike. Back in 2014, Doeren signed 16 North Carolina players. 5 of those are ranked as a top player in their position. Last year, he signed 4 of the top 8 players in the state, including Hines, who returned the kickoff. So he's trying to really focus now on in-state talent.
Clemson being a little more feisty on defense. B.J. Goodson, the middle linebacker, who is now the #1 tackler on this team and the only returning starting linebacker in the group, made that tackle.
And Goodson, a guy who had to replace a first-round draft pick in Stephon Anthony. And we were talking to Brent Venables. He said that Goodson was one of the question marks. We didn't know how he was going to emerge, and he's played great. Of course, already had the 4th sack on the sack before. Great game against Notre Dame.
Third and long. Brissette with time. Throws wide into double coverage about 4 yards off target. And Brissette telling his receiver didn't want him to be where he was.
I think that was another redirect. I think his receiver on that side, Jamichael Ramos, got knocked off his course. And you can see things starting to settle down. That was even a little smile on the face of Brent Venables there as he was talking to Bull Ware, starting to get a better feel for the game, maybe.
First chance all day to introduce a punter. A.J. Cole comes on to kick to the speedy Renfro. Beautiful. Spiraling kick. Renfro giving back inside the 40. And he was drilled by Dravius Wright. A loss of 2 on the return after a punt of 47. Now you know why Dave Doeren is so happy with his special teams.
Well, Cole, one of 2 true freshmen, Kyle Bamber, the kicker, and Cole, 2 true freshmen that have really come in with strong legs. And Wright, who is the starting nickelback, got to be careful with his head there.
Gallman again. This time he'll turn it outside. Powerful run down to the 41. It'll bring up 3rd and a yard. Jordan Leggett and Zach Brooks getting blocks.
And it is, if you're a NC State fan, you cannot believe that number 4, Jared Fernandez, is in the game. He's a little slow. You can see that left leg not quite there, but takes on the cut block and makes the tackle. He's a guy who looked like he broke his leg against Wake Forest last week, lived in the training room. He's not 100%, but I'm surprised at how well he moved on that play, given what we saw last week.
It's 3rd and 2 as they spot the ball back, and Brooks plows ahead for a 1st down. And that is the end of a surprising first quarter. This presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC station.
In women's volleyball?
Yes, that too. They're saying, what football game? We're busy.
Of course, Dan Radakovich, the athletic director of Clemson, is a part of the committee that makes the vote. Will have to recuse himself and actually leave the room if any discussion ever revolves around his Tigers, and I think it will.
Watson has it tipped. It's still caught by Renfro at the 37-yard line. And Jared Fernandez was the one who got the hand up.
Renfro's so good, he'll catch anything. Knock it up. That's a bummer. You know, if you're NC State, you're right where you need to be. Fernandez with that bad ankle. He's moving so much better than I ever thought. I mean, it looked like he may have broken his leg last week.
2nd and long. Gallman on the draw. Even when North Carolina State is there for a tackle, Coleman gets 3 full yards.
Here's a guy who had to. Zach Brooks was the starter going into last year, hurt his foot, and Gallman, a true freshman, had to come in. And here goes Clemson going fast on 3rd down. I think if you got inside a 4th and 3, you'd be going for it. So let's see where they get.
3rd and long. Brooks is the running back. The hair obscuring his name over the 24 jersey. Blitz coming. They don't get there. Watson for Leggett, tipped away at the last minute. Hakeem Jones got his right hand up. It appeared between the hands of Leggett and knocked it away.
What a great job by Dave Huxtable, who's rotating Jones from his safety position to go cover Leggett, the 6'6" guy. Jones does a wonderful job recovering, got his head around. Did you see Jones snap his head right before that ball got there? That's the 2nd time in a row we've seen number 1 play terrific one-on-one defense on 16. And here NC State again forcing a field goal. Great red zone defense.
Hugel will try from 41. He has already hit from 29. Made 10 out of 12 so far this year. Perfect. Clemson converts again. And the number 3 ranked team in the country takes a 19-13 lead. The last 2 times in the red zone, NC State has forced field goal. A lot of Wolves on campus. What a beautiful animal that is. 19-13, Clemson with the lead over North Carolina State. We're on a pace right now for a total of 1,000 yards in offense between these 2 teams. Their defensive rankings are taking a beating. Hines from the 1. Cut down at the 17-yard line. Wolfpack from the 35. Brissette throws on the run, and it just got there, and they actually got a ball past Mackenzie Alexander.
And it just got there. Alexander's closing on this ball. Not much oomph on it from Brissette as he was on the run, but a good, accurate throw. And Brissette puts it down and away. Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, was saying, when it looks like a throw is off, it's usually because he put it there. That one with Mackenzie Alexander, one of the best corners in coverage, you put it low and away, and it's a completion.
Has amazing accuracy. Days finds a little hole this time. Will pick up about 4. First 4 minutes and 23 seconds of this game, we had 4 touchdowns. Count them, 4.
Well, both of these teams went out and just got all over Wake Forest for NC State last week. They had 4 touchdowns of over 50 yards in the first quarter against Wake Forest. And then, of course, Clemson went down to Miami in a scrimmage and won 58-0 in front of nobody.
That was as close to a perfect game as we've ever seen. I mean, they were unbelievable on every single play.
So you have to cut these guys some slack. They're finally slowing down here in the second quarter of this game.
Brissette little swing to Days. Blocker in front. And Days will pick up very close to a first down. Cole Cook, number 48, one of the tight ends, was out there blocking in front of him. Gave him a couple of extra yards.
You're on the plus side of the field, 3rd and inches. This is one where you can try a little run action and sneak somebody out and try to get a throw here, because I think I mean, you're well inside. You're 4 inches from a first down here. Don't be surprised if Doran just says, hey, let's get the first. But sometimes take a shot on this down and distance on this part of the field.
DeQuay Nichols, number 27, is in. They fake it to him. And then Brissette throws it back on the other side. Complete. This is going to be a touchdown. Jalen Samuels. How did he get lost? Nice call, Mr. Cunningham. Go for the throat when you have the chance.
With a quarterback like this guy, I would do it all the time. You really can't. You know, Dave Doran yesterday, they lost 2 games in a row, and everyone kind of threw up their hands, but they went back to work, and this guy has just been so good, and they use these players so many different ways. Samuels, because of the run fake the other way, sneaks out, and it's just a foot race that Clemson cannot win.
Ben Boulware a step behind at the sideline. He turned it up and scored. Bambard gives NC State the lead.
But what Dorn said about this quarterback was interesting. He said, with a guy like this in our defense, we can play with anybody in the country, and I think he's right.
We talked about the adjustments that Clemson made earlier to stop the NC State run game. Well, NC State turns around and makes an offensive adjustment. They go more to the passing game, and it worked. And that's what football is adjustments to what the other guys do.
And it's nice to see both sides have guys who can execute at the high level when you make the adjustment. This is a nice game. Very competitive, high-level ball here.
For McLeod deep. Maples drives it into the end zone, and McLeod will take a knee.
Now you get Deshaun Watson back with 2 timeouts in his belt and 55 seconds.
Watson comes out throwing. What a back shoulder toss that was to Scott. Perfect pass from Deshaun Watson for 30.
And they won't have to use a timeout on this, which is going to be amazing. A long play without having to use the timeout because the sticks had to run so far. This is only going to take a second or two to get the snap. Brilliant clock management here on a long play.
One more first down. They're in field goal range. They go to Peak. Peak got away with a push-off, and it's a touchdown. Sharon Peak made the perfect wide receiver move. Just a little extension of his arm at the end to get separation, and it results in a big score.
And for NC State fans, they'll wonder, how in the world do you miss this push-off? And I'll tell you exactly why. The field judge or back judge to that side has the offensive player directly between him and the defender. He has to be in position to be getting to that pylon and be beyond the play, and it's a near impossible move to make. But what a job Clemson did defensively. It looked like this was going to be a runaway for that first quarter, and Clemson really battened down the hatches.
Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doc?
Coach, 20 points on the board in the first half. What impresses you most about the play of your offense?
The guys are playing hard. I mean, we shot ourselves in the foot a couple times. We have a good game plan. The kids want to win. They're going to execute to the best of their ability. We're going to play for 4 quarters.
Defensively, you got to Watson. You started stopping Gallman on the inside, but they hurt you on some big pass plays. What are your concerns there?
They're an explosive offense. We got to play smart. We got to stay on top of their receivers. We got to play the football better. There's a lot to talk about, but if we're in this game, we're going to go play hard, make some good adjustments.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
It was another perfect throw by Deshaun Watson, who has been spot on the entire half. 26-20, Clemson. When we come back, the studio brings you up to date after these messages from our ABC station. Let's take a look at our first half stats brought to you by DSW. Total yards for Clemson, 281. NC State with 188. Whopping averages on yards per play. So one team comes into this game third ranked on defense in the country. The other team comes in fourth ranked on defense in the country, and we only had 46 points in the first half. Go figure.
Well, when you have quarterback play like we've had, we've been lucky. We saw Connor Cook last week, and these two guys are putting on a show. Watson, who's going to get the ball first, up 6 already.
So the Tigers lead by 6, and because they won the toss and deferred, they'll get the ball to start the second half. Fuller and McLeod are deep. They waited to 5 for the kick of Jackson Maples. Drives another one out of the end zone. They'll start from the 25. We got an injury update from Jerry Punch. Doc, it's not good news for NC State.
Not good news for the Wolfpack faithful at all. Their sensational junior running back, Matthew Days, is done for the day. Now, at the end of the first half, he went limping to the locker room, favoring a left ankle. He has come back out of the locker room with a boot on that left lower leg, and he will not play here in the second half. Tough news for the Wolfpack.
Jerry, 9 carries, 72 yards in the first half, and that is a terrible blow for them.
And they'd already dismissed Shadrick Thornton from the team, who was 2014's leading rusher and their bigger back.
Watson on the run. Nice catch by Renfro.
That was a nice toss by Watson. Renfro, just a guy who Walked onto the team last year. Look at that move. He runs really low. We were talking, had a great visit with Jeff Scott, the wide receiver coach and co-offensive coordinator, former player here at Clemson. And he was saying he's tricky to defend because he runs so low. His cuts are really abrupt.
Gallman, great spin move to the 46-yard line of the Wolfpack.
And here goes Clemson going super fast. This is one thing they do is they can run speed ball with the best of anybody.
Fake to Gallman, throw to Scott. Scott wrapped up immediately. That's great work by Justin Burris.
Woo, what a nice spin. And that's an injured guy, Fernandez, with a left ankle, but I don't think even with a healthy left ankle, he's making that tackle. He just has so much confidence. They ran more stretch and kind of toss sweep. Now with Gallman, here comes the slow down lineman play.
Well, you got to find a way to stop Renfro. He makes elite moves, and when you've got a guy as accurate as Watson, it's just tough to stop.
This is what they did to Miami last week, where the offensive linemen don't move, and NC State just wondering what to do. They got a touchdown out of it last week to Jordan Leggett on a throwback screen, but Clemson has so many things they can do to you.
Big third down here. They need to reach the 36.
Not sure they're not going to go for it on fourth down here.
Blitz coming. They don't get there. Watson with a man underneath. It's Gallman. And Gallman near the 26-yard line. Gain of 13. Excuse me, it was Deion Kane. 8 instead of 9. You bring that many guys and don't get there, somebody is wide open.
Watson's just operating at a high level. He's very calm. He sees everything. Terrific at the run game where you have to count guys and get to the side with less people. He's just got such confidence.
Watson with all day, takes off. Nice move to get inside the 20. He's got enough for a first down.
Clemson now getting on a little bit of a roll. NC State's defense, the first time I've seen their defensive line really start to look a little tuckered. This is, you see the hands on the hip, the bigger guys there in the middle. This is now starting to feel like the type of drive for Clemson where they might start taking control of the ball game.
Gallman to the outside, gets to about the 11-yard line. They need to reach the 5 for a first down.
And luckily for Tocho, Jay Guillermo, the center, was downfield. And, of course, Clemson, one of the teams that run blocks a lot of times on throwdowns because they have a run type of play in there. And Guillermo got more than 3 yards downfield.
2nd and 6, Watson to Gallman. Knocked out of bounds near the 6 or 7-yard line. Let's see where they mark it. Again, they need to reach the 5 to move the sticks.
You better know, if you are NC State, you better know where Leggett is. Jordan Leggett, number 16, on a 3rd and short. This is a situation where if I'm Clemson, I may be going for it on 4th down here, but you feel comfortable about where you are. So this doesn't have to be, hey, we need a yard. This could be time to try to sneak Leggett or someone else into the end zone. Leggett, the left tight end on the line of scrimmage.
Garrett Williams in as an extra blocking back, and straight ahead goes Gallman. That will be a 1st and goal for the Tigers.
We were talking to Mike Rose, the defensive end from NC State yesterday, about Clemson, and he was talking about Gallman and the growth of the power run game. And what a surprise for Clemson. They knew coming in they were going to be very good in the throw game. As good a set of receivers depth-wise and how many people as they've had. A great quarterback.
Gallman. Touchdown, Clemson. One of the tacklers had him by the ankle. That was Fernandez. Couldn't hold on. And Gallman just too powerful.
And some people may say go for 2 here. I always think go for 1 this early. You're going to chase that point. Unless you're going to go for 2 for the rest of the way out, I always think you're going to get a bunch of points back and forth here. Most likely get the 1 now.
Thinking has also got to be you go up by 13. They've lost their running back, which is going to hurt their ability for the rest of the half to score points at all, let alone come back from a 13-point deficit. And Gallman gets the score that puts them up 33-20. Number 3 with a little breathing room. Hines, who had a 100-yard kick return, takes a knee this time. Brissette, just so hard to corral. Still on his feet, dives forward to the 34. He may have to do more of that without his starting running back, Matthew Days.
And really shocking with the number 3 team in the country here, down 6 at halftime. About a third of this stadium feels like it left. You're allowed to go out into the parking lot and have a little good time. But I'm just shocked with such a good game. Look at this place was packed. There was not a seat open in this building. And I would bet 20-30% of them are now open.
Well, they come back, but they're taking their time. This is Samuels. Jalen Samuels trying to win a foot race, and he's down to the goal line. How about that for 235?
Well, and the cannon went off. I think they thought that was a touchdown. But T.J. Green did everything he can do. Watch the block here. Terrific, and it was just a missed tackle by Boulware right there.
First and goal, Samuels, touchdown.
Now do you think the fans will start coming back in to see the second half? I would hope so.
They hear their brethren cheering.
This place is dead quiet. This is a NC State team that has been building towards a moment like this, and the fans from NC State are going to miss it. This is mind-blowing.
Bambard for the extra point. High snap, they got it down, and Bambard knocks it through. This happens at NC State all the time. People go out at the half and then filter back in, but certainly they're taking their sweet time.
Go to your backyard and put on the TV and watch it there. It's cheaper. You don't have to fight traffic.
And you can hear us.
But the students, the Pack Nation, these guys, the Wolfpack Nation, they were waiting for this. And it's amazing that this is a guy who was a fullback. He was moved around everywhere. We've mentioned that Matthew Days is out, the fine running back from NC State. Almost takes it to the house, and then the offensive line.
Well, they just cleared it out.
They sure did. And there was a little bit of a spread, so not enough bodies in there. But that was a great answer drive. It felt like all the world, the momentum had clearly gone to Clemson. They were starting to look like the superior team. What an excellent
desperately needed that. And they've gotten 107 of their 147 rushing yards on just 2 carries. And so they're back in the ballgame.
And for Wolfpack fans within walking distance, please start walking back to the stadium. We have a good one here.
Now the question, can they stop Clemson?
They haven't been able to.
Nope.
For a little while.
McLeod runs into traffic, takes it down to 25. The ball came loose. No signal from the officials. Now a late signal saying he was down.
Ball was down. Runner was down. McLeod. We took a look at it.
This carry goes up to about the 30 for 5 yards. Gallman has been a workhorse, so Zach Brooks getting some carries here.
Brooks, a senior who was the starting running back coming into last season, had a foot injury. He's finally worked himself back up into a rotation.
And that will be a first down up at the 40. Artavis Scott.
Watson just looks just effortless. And I know it's not because he's worked so hard. He's a guy they've been recruiting since his 8th grade year. Chad Morris, the former offensive coordinator, they got on this guy early.
And he is a real find. Scott makes the catch, tries to make a pivot to get more yardage. Forced out of bounds at the 44. But mentioned Gallman in the day. He's had 19 carries for 100 yards. 7 catches for Scott. And NC State has just not been able to stop him. I mean, they've held them to a couple of field goals instead of touchdowns, but that's about the extent of it.
You know, after we did that Georgia Tech game a few weeks ago at Clemson, and everyone saying, oh, is this the game Clemson stubs their toe as a ranked team? You know, the term Clemsoning was invented for when Clemson would be a top team and lose to an unranked team. Well, the last time well, I was saying, after that game, he just said, that's over. It hasn't happened since here in 2011. And you just see a different, it's just a different vibe. What he's been building here, what he's been working on, with just the focus to the day-to-day tasks. It's about us. It's not about the other people. It really has been impressive to see them grow up as a program.
Quarterback keeper. Watson just so smart in the run game, so accurate in the pass game.
And he never looks to be in a rush.
No.
He's gaining yardage. This is just a terrific read. This is an actual read. You know, a lot of times that's just handed off, and that time he saw Dravius Wright, the nickelback we've been talking about, crash down. But he's never in a rush, even when he's running, making a move.
No.
But we saw when he wants to get in a rush and wants to accelerate, he can run away from some folks, too.
Wants it all on this one, and he's got it all. A perfect throw to Deon Cain. 40 yards from Deshaun Watson. Can't throw it any better.
And unfortunately for NC State, an injury. Cain, a guy who was a high school quarterback, and the coaches kept saying, a little warning there about the over-celebrating probably. But Cain is a guy that the coaches have been saying he's got all the skills we want. It's just, it's not bad coverage, you know. It's really not.
No, he's right there.
Oh, he got kicked in the chin.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I'm not sure anyone Clemson plays the rest of the way until the college football playoffs. And I do think this team is clearly one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the country right now, which is shocking to say given what they lost on defense last year. But at Florida State next week, at Syracuse, Wake Forest, at South Carolina, then the ACC championship game. They're better than all of those teams. I think they're clearly better than Florida State. And a lot of it is you just have one of the a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback is what it comes down to.
Get your hands in the earth.
Back in Raleigh, North Carolina, Carter Finley Stadium, third quarter, and left cornerback Jack Tocho, the junior, has been brought off the field. He was kicked in the face, was unconscious on the field. I have been told that he's cracked one tooth, maybe another pretty heavy hit to this young man. He is obviously done for the rest of the game.
Boy, thank you, Doc. That's a tough break for that kid. Hines, they could sure use a big return to take a knee. That surprises me a little bit, throwing 3 yards deep. NC State could use a sustained drive instead of one of those 4-play jobs. Brissette throws this one away.
As much as NC State has scored, they have averaged 4 plays per drive, and their longest drive has only been 6 plays in this game. And so their defense, you asked if their defense is going to be able to stop Clemson. Well, not if they're on the field. There's just no defense in the country that would have to defend this much. They have to be able to slow down what Clemson puts out there. The buffet of offense that Clemson puts out there.
Brissette had a really good first half, is yet to get untracked here, and they need him with the injury to Matthew Days. And they'll run Samuels. You know, Ed, you were talking about how good Clemson has been all year long. We've seen them get better as the season has progressed. They've added a couple of wide receivers that weren't in the mix early. They've gotten one guy back on their defensive line. They have built some depth.
You know, that
obviously they've built their confidence.
That blowout last week against Miami, 69 of the 72 players that dressed played. So this week in practice with the second and third string defense, which is what they need the growth to get to where they were last year, got all great reps last week.
Only a 3-man rush. Brissette trying to escape, just fires this one out of bounds. They'll have to punt. And it just looks like NC State right now is gassed.
Yeah, the run play before, and Brissette looks, again, he's up a little slow.
Lawson and Robinson met at Brissette and knocked him flat.
Boy, this really has changed, Mike. You're right. And the fans, I think, booing a little bit because it looks like, wait a minute, you're down 2 scores. What's going on? But Clemson turning up the heat a little bit.
A.J. Cole to punt it away. Renfro waits at his 32. No pressure on Cole, and he gets away a good kick this time. Renfro, late fair catch signal, and makes it to 23. Gallman, hit from behind, spins out of the tackle, taken down. Arias Moore got the first contact. The remarkable thing about Guillermo and Norton is Norton was going to be the only returning starting offensive lineman. Then he got hurt, so they had none.
It is the biggest surprise of this team is the ability to have a running game with an offensive line with now 5 new starters with Guillermo in there. Guillermo, a guy who missed 2014 with a foot injury, so even he lacked a bunch of experience.
Oh, Watson, another perfect strike. I mean, his throws are unbelievable. Sherrod took it in stride for 21 yards.
You know, what we saw last week out of Connor Cook and Nate Sudfeld from Indiana looked like 2 guys that were ready to go play for paychecks. And I know Watson's only his 2nd year out of high school, and the rule is 3 years out of high school. I think he'd be the first pick in the draft. I really do. I think he's that good of a quarterback. I think he's that dynamic of a personality. And speaking of Watson,
sure.
And I think that's a rule that's going to get challenged legally someday, frankly. And I don't think it's going to hold up in the courts. I think there's guys that are 1 and 2 years out of high school that are good enough to go play for a paycheck, and just don't see how a court would uphold that arbitrary rule.
Well, he's absolutely brilliant. There's no way around that. Hit from behind, ball's loose. NC State had a couple of shots at it. Looked like Clemson may have fallen on it. That would have been huge for this defense. Mike Rose came in the back door, got his hands on the quarterback's arm. The ball came loose, but his teammates couldn't get it.
And what a job by Zach Brooks. Just great timing by Rose, beat the left tackle Hyatt, and that ball starts squirting around, and B.J. Hill had a bead on it until Zach Brooks flies in right here at the end to scoop it. What a huge, huge save by Brooks.
3rd down, Watson flips it out to Brooks in the flat. Brooks makes a cut. 10-5 touchdown. 35 yards on 3rd and 4. So many weapons for the Clemson Tigers.
Well, the guy saved the drive by recovering the fumble. Why not feed it to him? But I think that Mitch Hyatt, the left tackle, may have gotten away with something here. Let's watch in the open field. Now, the runner went to the outside of him. If Brooks had cut back to the inside on that block against Boone, they may have called it. The hand was outside, but because the back cut it to the outside, Hyatt doesn't get called for it. I don't think he should have. It looked worse than it was during the play.
Deshaun Watson responsible for 5 touchdowns today. Rushed for 1, threw for 4, 347 yards. And what was the stat you had earlier? They had a 400-yard passing game. Then the next game they had a 400-yard rushing game. Well, we're back to the passing game. We're closing in on 400 here.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and think that Clemson, I'm not sure they're going to be number 1 coming out Tuesday if this game continues the way it is. But don't be shocked. 2 or 3 would be the lowest I'd see. You know, we saw this team, Clemson, at the end of last year in the bowl game against Oklahoma, playing at a super high level on defense, a level that you just didn't know existed at Clemson after what had happened before Venables got here, Brent Venables. But to come and have their 2nd and 3rd team be this good on defense is it's eye-opening.
Brissette drops it off to Cherry, and Cherry gets up to the 39. They need to reach the 41 to move the sticks. And that's the last play they're going to get off in the 3rd quarter. Clemson will lead by 20, and it is desperation time for the Wolfpack of NC State here on homecoming. This presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC station. You can almost see Oz in the background, but I think, well, there she is. I think you're going to find 4 teams instead of the end of the yellow brick road. And Clemson right now making a statement that they want to be one of those 4. NC State down by 3 touchdowns. Overshift to the left, and they'll run it back to the right side to get a first down. They go to Samuels. That will be a first down. The tackle by Travis Blanks. And let's check in with Jerry.
Yeah, we asked Dabo Swinney about his take on all the media hype that Clemson would be a shoe-in for the national championship. He said, I embrace the fact that we are one of the best teams in the country. He said, but I remember and I remind my players that a year ago this time, Mississippi State was the #1 team in the nation. They didn't take care of business. They lost the bowl game, didn't even finish the top 10. So it's far from being over right now.
And, Jerry, that's why his focus has always been week to week. Let's just concentrate on the next team up. Nichols gets a carry. And remember, if you joined us late, Matthew Days, who had a big first half, hurt, not going to return with a sprained ankle here in the second half. That's a big chunk of their offense.
Right now, NC State in their last couple of series has not been in any hurry. There's Days, who had that ankle injury. Let's hope for NC State he's back. Very explosive guy, but boot on. But boy, there's a boot on this offense. I mean, look how much time they're taking off this clock, down 3 scores.
Brissette sets his feet, throws to the corner, knocked away, nearly picked by Curse. Cutting across from the safety spot, the man-to-man coverage with Alexander. Well, he's not going to be happy today. They completed a pass on 1. That's 5 for the season. Imagine that.
And going back to the beginning of the season when everyone kept saying what Clemson didn't have on defense, given the guys who left, Dabo Swinney kept saying, what about what we do have? This is the best secondary we have had since I've been here. The way Brent Venables has been building this defense and the recruiting they've got, and there's the get-back coach who has to pull Venables back out of the white on every play.
3rd and 6, blitz coming. Brissette hangs in the pocket and throws incomplete. There was some contact down there, a little chicken fight in between the receiver, Trowell, and the defender, Tankersley.
Both guys are kind of fighting with their arms. Tankersley has that left arm out, but he was not changing the route of the receiver. Guys touch each other. Maurice Trowell had all the opportunity to catch it, and Tankersley is a guy you've been mentioning on the other side how good Alexander is, but
yes,
it's Tankersley that Venables said it's his growth and how good he's gotten that has made us so much better. We know we have one side covered. Now we have them both covered.
A.J. Cole to punt. They are not going to go for it on 4th and 7. I think they have reached the point where they just about have to go for it on everything.
Yeah, you're down 3 scores, and as much clock as they have used on the last 2 drives, it feels like they're down 1 score.
And it's not like they have stopped Clemson a few times either.
I feel like there should be some howling in the background
right now, and certainly NC State has not been able to even slow them down. Gallman continues to pound away.
And here's the key: is let's watch how much of that 40-second clock comes off. You're up 3 scores. It's not about getting reps here now. If you're Clemson, I'm surprised how fast they're going.
I don't even think they're looking at it yet.
Yeah.
Gallman again. That ball came loose, and NC State has it. North Carolina State has the football. Cantavius Street, the defensive tackle, came out of the pile with the ball.
Ball is out.
Yeah. They're taking another look at this. Justin Burris knocked it away. He's had a big game. Big shot by
Arias Moore.
Hill,
yeah,
too.
and Arias Moore. There's about 3 people in there. I think it was Burris who started it, the ball moving. But that was 3 guys. And now for NC State, all of a sudden you're back in business. But your offense has been stale and slow all of a sudden.
With the 3 shots that Gallman took, that ball was coming out eventually. He got plastered.
But, NC State almost got the turnover on that kickoff return by McLeod a couple of series ago. And now, all of a sudden, it almost feels like, hey, wake up. We've got to go do it. Because it felt like I think you mentioned it felt like they were almost feeling like, let's just get out of here with not much more embarrassment. And now a game that Yeah, you're down 3 scores, but boy, they were really burning a lot of clock their last 2 possessions.
Empty backfield for Brissette. 4-man line for Clemson. And they bring forward. Brissette throws underneath to his tight end, Greenidge.
And for Clemson, if you're Brent Venables, I don't know that I would ever have less than 2 safeties back. And I know you like to play press and man and all that, but you don't really have to take many risks at all right now. A little surprised there is no middle safety right now for Clemson.
5-man rush this time. Brissette rolls away from pressure and throws one of the few times that he has been off target all day long, and it was intended for Jonathan Alston.
Well, you certainly have to go for it, or you're going to go for it here on 4th down. So maybe if on this 3rd and 8, some type of draw or run or something to make it a little more manageable. But the crowd, we mentioned the crowd left for halftime, and a lot of them didn't come back. And I know this game's feels like it's gotten out of hand, but here we are in the 4th quarter after a turnover.
Flanker screen, the ball's incomplete, and guess who? Mackenzie Alexander. Not only is he a tremendous physical, gifted athlete, but he is so smart. He diagnosed that play immediately.
Well, he saw it right from the start. He could see the back coming over that way, and that's DeQuay Nichols. We're down to about 4th string running back now for NC State because of the injury to Days and the dismissal of Shadrick Thornton. But McKenzie saw that right from jump.
Trying to stay alive. They'll go for it on 4th and about 8. Blitz coming. Brissette hangs in the pocket, throws, had his tight end juggling catch by Greenidge. What a play, reached out with a left hand, kept it alive, and then grabbed it.
I thought there was no way Greenidge was going to get to that. He's a terrific 6'6" in the pass game.
On the ground to Nichols. This is just a brilliant catch.
Boy, they need it. 4th and 8.
Tremendous concentration on part of the tight end. Score the touchdown after making the catch that kept him alive.
Well, remember Clemson when Zach Brooks recovered the fumble by Watson, he got the next carry. So Matt Canada taking a play out of the Clemson playbook, the offensive coordinator. Now the question becomes, are you going to do an onside kick if you're NC State? And here's the reason to do it now. I don't think you're going to stop Clemson. It was a fumble that stopped them last time.
What tipped you off?
Right, but the point is, even if you don't get the onside kick, what does it matter if you don't stop them from the 25 or from the 50? So at this point, I think you have to, on the rest of the way out, commit to the onside kick.
Point after is good, down 2 scores, 47-34. Greenidge had 3 catches, 36 yards on that drive, including the touchdown.
And what a terrific throw by Brissette. Again, down and away and low, because there were 3 bodies in there, and Greenidge, who had the great one-handed stop catch earlier, and Brissette, who's just been beat up in the second half, delivers the strikes. And here you go with the onside kick. Clemson wasn't ready for it. They're having to adjust. They have their regular return team in instead of what's called the hands team.
Got to go 10 yards. Remember, they're letting it bounce because it won't go 10 yards. The NC State players were gathered around the ball, begging it to go 1 more yard so they could recover it.
Yeah, and Maples just had a bad angle. They caught Clemson fully asleep. You saw Sweeney freaking out, getting his guys to move up. But unfortunately for Jackson Maples. But I give Clemson tons of credit, because if that ball doesn't go 10 yards, they don't have to touch it. It's got to get right on that line. And Ramos and Greenidge, the guy who just caught the touchdown.
Clemson ball at the 40. Still a load of time left to go in this game. Gallman will get 3.
Now let's see if Clemson starts working that play clock. You've got a guy like Gallman who can beat some yards, 3, 4, 5 a carry. Just No reason to be in a rush. You've already had the turnover that can take a 20-point lead and make it 13 like we see here. So
fake to Gallman. Watson floats it for the end zone. Another Clemson touchdown. Ray McLeod had 3 steps on the defender, and that was just pitch and catch. Too easy.
Well, you could either eat the clock or just go up 3 touchdowns again. One or the other, whichever one you want, worked just fine.
This is not a let's take 34 seconds off the play kind of offense.
But they can. That's the thing, you know, with Gallman, and that's the thing they've been able to manufacture. I mean, I'm not doubting letting Ray McLeod run by and get another 6 on the board, but this is a...
And another block. And if you're NC State, you're between a rock and a hard place. Dabo not very happy after the blocked extra point again.
Well, a little bit of a low kick. That's Hugel, a guy who got a tryout last spring. Didn't get to stick around, but they brought him back for the fall. But the problem with missing that, though, the difference between 19 and 20 is 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions is 16, and the field goal was 19. So technically it's still 3 scores, but it is technically not 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the man.
Thanks.
But you're going to have to find a way to stop Clemson on defense. That would be a little harder.
It's about keeping the viewers interested, Mike. That's what it's about.
They're very smart. They're not going to kick the ball to Himes. Instead, they kick it to Cherry. There is a flag down, and Cherry is driven out of bounds to the 35-yard line. This might be another flag, although it looked like contact started in the field of play.
On the kicking team, 5 yards will be added from the end of the run. Touchdown.
They very smartly decided not to kick it to Hines.
Yeah, and then instead the ball gets pitched to Cherry, the fine punt returner, and all of a sudden, look at that. I mean, Dabo Sweet a couple minutes ago was over there about to celebrate. He's like, wait a minute. Are these guys not gone yet? Shouldn't they be gone?
With 11:04 to go in the game, Clemson already has 580 yards in total offense. That is a season high. And that kick return just went for 47 yards. Brissette. Touchdown. Jonathan Alston on another perfect throw from Brissette. Are you kidding?
Well, if we're going to call out Sharon Peak like we did earlier for a little push-off, I'm not sure Alston's push-off was quite as aggressive as Peak's, but all of the sudden, well, you got to go for 2 here if you're NC State. I'm not sure why NC State's going for 1, because the math at 19 is
right.
16 and 3 make 19. So this is the card tells you to go for 2 here if you're NC State.
This would cut it to 11 if they went for 2, which is a 2-point conversion after a touchdown and a field goal.
They just kept it. That was a mistake by NC State not to go for 2 there. They just kept this a 2-touchdown game.
But no mistake by Brissette. Perfect throw. Both quarterbacks have been unbelievable today. 53-41. The Dr. Pepper Championship Drive game of the week, and NC State setting up for another onside kick after they failed to go for 2. That could have made it an 11-point spread. This one goes 10 yards. The kicker almost had it, but Clemson will recover. The Tigers have the ball at the 44-yard line. Hunter Renfro came up with the ball
and almost took it to the house.
Yes, he did. Maples was chasing it, couldn't catch up to his own kick.
Great execution this time by Maples. They do the dribble kick, and they try to blow everybody up in front of it and let the kicker himself recover it. But Renfro, who has just turned into a terrific player in so many regards for Clemson, does a good job. And now I just don't think if you're Clemson you want to throw. I know they just threw a touchdown, but this feels like Gallman. This feels like run the play clock. nub this game out. Do not give the ball back to NC State any more times if you can help it.
Brooks is in it, tailback, lowers his shoulder, bounces off the pile. Brooks, excuse me, that's Gallman. Forced out of bounds. 24 yards.
Clemson's offense is just saying, you know, you guys are making it kind of interesting, but, yeah, this is not going to be what we want to do here. I mean, this is just a guy who's... Dabo Swinney, before the Georgia Tech game, said he's running like he actually thinks he cannot be tackled. He truly believes that. And Tony Elliott...
he was right on that play.
Yeah, that's co-offense coordinator Tony Elliott.
25 carries, 154 yards for Gallman. Quarterback keeper, Watson. In an ideal world, they would limit his called runs.
You know, I think that's probably only the 4th or 5th called run they've had for him today. So you go back to that Notre Dame game, and they even said, you know, that was probably a few more than we wanted, but it was what we got to get going in our run game. They needed in that torrential downpour, and so they call what they need. But and Watson very good in the red zone. But this is a terrific drive. Melt it down, get another score.
Read option, quarterback keep, and he lost the ball. Watson fortunate enough to pounce on it, but he simply lost his footing and went down.
Yeah, I think he caught it on the hip, the ball on the hip of the running back as he went by him. And, you know, if you're up 12 and another turnover, if you're Clemson, yeah, he just dropped that ball as he was trying to scramble and caught it.
The old turf monster got him at the 6.
Again, I'm not sure a field goal, it just doesn't, it really doesn't do much for you at all except force one 2-point conversion on a touchdown for the other team to overtake you. So I think this is ride it out if you're Clemson, even on 4th down.
Watson, quarterback keeper, nothing doing.
I think you run another play here if you're Clemson. You just don't gain anything with the field goal. We've already had one blocked. This is a very good, powerful defensive line. So let's watch over the right guard and right tackle of NC State's coverage, or excuse me, their offensive line, because that's where Clemson, right here on the right side is where the big push is going to come. And again, you go from 12 to 15. Yeah, you gain that they have to go for a 2-point conversion, but
Hugel has hit 2 field goals. This is a chip shot from 23. And the spread increases to 15 points with 5:52 to go in the ball game. So NC State is still down 2 touchdowns. And they're trying to avoid Hines again. Cherry comes up with it. He's almost as dangerous. Gets it out to 38. But he's right. That's the only way you get to a playoff. Great throw, great catch by Hines.
Now let's see how much clock goes off here. They were struggling going fast earlier. They are a huddle team. They do have a hurry-up offense, obviously, like everyone does, but have practiced it more recently as part of their regular offense, so should have some comfort.
Nichols is the setback. Brissette with a fake. Rifles that one short, complete to the 44-yard line, and they really can't afford the short passes now. They have to have enough time to score 2 touchdowns and get the ball back from Clemson when they get it.
Well, at this point, you score again.
All-out blitz coming. Brissette throws incomplete, intended for Alston, flag down. That's going to be roughing the quarterback. It's a big 15 yards. The middle linebacker, B.J. Goodson.
Roughing the passer with targeting, number 98. Defense.
That's
Boy, this is
Dodd,
a
and
big
targeting
one.
means he gets tossed.
And of course, it goes to further review. Let's see. Well, first of all,
it was Goodson, not Dodd.
And there is no forcible contact to the head or neck area.
Did not hit him in the head.
Yeah, so this will be called off.
So it was first down at the 30. They go underneath, and Hines drops a perfectly catchable ball.
But still, the penalty helps NC State.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you're the Clemson side, you know, the NC State fans left. But the Clemson fans have stuck it out, and they're not out of the woods here. They know it.
They travel well, don't they?
No, they sure do.
A lot of orange. Blitz coming. Brissette, they finally get him down at first contact. And that was Travis Blanks, and then Ben Boulware got there too.
Well, and an offensive lineman comes up a little gimpy. Number 54, Joe Tooney. But watch Boulware. He's going to come in around, and you're also going to get Travis Blanks coming in, who was just off the screen, and just too many bodies. And that's an overload blitz, it's called. Somebody's going to be open if you don't get there when you bring that many guys. But they're able to get there. And unfortunately for NC State, Tooney, the left guard, looked like he got up a little gimpy after all those bodies fell on the back of his legs.
3rd and 18, and Brett Venables dialing up blitzes. This time he will bring 2 and drop 9. Brissette still looking, trying to get away from Goodson, and does. And then throws downfield. Flag is down. The tight end Greenidge makes the catch. The flag in the secondary. Now we'll check on that.
Brissette is just... Brent Venables has to have a heart attack at this point. This guy just won't go down. He will not quit.
Holding, number 10, defense holding an eligible receiver. That penalty will be declined. The results of the play is a first down.
Foul on Boulware. They'll forget that. Take the play instead.
And Brissette is so accurate on the run. And just, I mean, Goodson had his arm, and he just threw him away from himself and then makes an accurate throw to Greenidge.
To the end zone, incomplete. Intended for Cherry.
I don't know that Goodson, B.J. Goodson, could have done much more. This guy, long arms, pushed him away. Just such a terrific. He has great balance, great strength. Goodson, who was called for that roughing, but had the ejection for targeting removed just a few plays ago, so helped keep this drive alive with that penalty. He wasn't able to finish a big sack there.
Blitz coming. Brissette throws that in the flat. Greenidge, the tight end. He's to the 4. It'll be 1st and goal. 7 catches for Greenidge.
Well, and this is the clear-out route by Braylon Cherry. Watch number 13. Excellent job getting Curse to come off. Nice timing throw by Brissette. Didn't get out of bounds. The clock's running.
Greenidge only had 5 catches
get out of bounds.
coming in, and they will. Greenidge only had 5 catches coming in. He has 7 for the game, 6 in the second half.
Well, he's trying to do his Jordan Leggett impersonation. Fine tight end from Clemson, but that time really hurt them that they weren't able to get out of bounds on the play before. Wow, and because the runner, this is really going to hurt NC State. The runner, they're huddled right now. And because the runner was going backwards when he went out, that they didn't stop the clock. I don't think NC State knows how much clock they're burning off. Boy, this is 6 or 7 plays they've wasted here.
They made an assumption that they were out of bounds and the clock would stop, I believe. But if you are going backwards, it is not a play that stops the clock.
It was the right call by the officials on the field not to stop the clock, and NC State didn't see it. I don't think they knew that the clock was running. There's no way you huddle the way that they huddled. They were just over 4 minutes when they got that play. They missed it. They missed the 2-point conversion earlier. That would have made it a 2-score game, and this time they missed that the runner was not ruled out of bounds, therefore stopping the clock.
4 wide receivers in this formation. Clemson comes with a blitz. Brissette, look at that. Keeping it alive, still keeping it alive. Throws to the goal line, incomplete. The ball hit the ground.
Good job getting that ball away. You take that sack, it makes a whole different 4th and goal. It'd be 4th and goal from about the 25, but instead now you have it at the 11. The way Greenidge has been playing at tight end, as tall as he is, I would want something where 86 is in the end zone somewhere where I can throw it up to him.
Do you know who? Remember the old quarterback Dante Culpepper?
Yep.
Such a big kid. That's who he reminds me
look
of.
that way.
You just can't tackle him.
Not super fast, not explosive or anything, just so big and has a little bit of elusiveness to him.
4th and goal, last gasp. To the end zone, tipped away, incomplete. And they'll take over on downs.
What defense by Tankersley. What defense.
Tremendous coverage on his part against the bigger receiver.
Greenwich was the guy they're looking for, and Tankersley, good physical. You can't play it any better than that. You just can't. That's a guy barely 6 feet going up against a guy 6'6". There's no pass interference. They're both using their hands. You just can't play the ball any better. Good throw by Brissette. Put it up to the taller guy. But this guy, give him a game ball. That was a big one.
And Tankersley's confidence is growing every week because he's about the only place you can throw it on the outside because they are not going to go to the other side. And Mackenzie Alexander.
Well, and it may seem like a small tackle, but this was a game that NC State would never go away. They score again. All of a sudden, things are really interesting. But instead, you now come out with the favorite lineman's favorite formation.
The victory formation as NC State cannot stop the clock. Clemson, we asked if they could be threatened by NC State today, and they were. Clemson, Florida State next week. The last 4 years, Clemson won in 2011. And then FSU.
And a game last year that just ripped the heart out of Clemson. They outplayed Florida State. And they had the ball with just about a minute on the plus side of the field. They fumbled it back, and they ended up losing it. And you could tell in talking to Dabo Swinney, he even brought it up when we met with him earlier in the year against Georgia Tech. That was a loss that really galvanized this team. You know, people keep saying around these parts, well, you know, the Coastal Division, UNC, of course, beats Pitt the other night. Well, they better put a really good team in the playoffs. It's not going to matter if they're in the ACC championship. If Clemson wins out, they're in the playoffs, and I think they'll be the 1 or 2 seed.
Well, we didn't expect to see this many points because both teams were so highly ranked on defense. But it shows you with the spread offenses we have today and all the skill players and these two tremendously accurate quarterbacks that they can rack up points on anybody. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doc?
Coach, 625 yards total offense. Deshaun Watson, 6 touchdowns. How would you describe the play that sensational young quarterback?
Well, that's what great quarterbacks do, man. They pick you up. And, you know, tonight hadn't been a part of many of them like this one tonight. You know, first of all, I'm just proud of the team. We made enough mistakes to lose the game. Give NC State a ton of credit. Man, what a great performance by them. They fought us every inch of the way, never quit. We got up 20. They kept fighting. We made a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the day, we made a bunch of plays too. And, man, I'm proud of number 4. A lot of heart by our team. You saw that tonight. And, you know, if you're going to be a great team, you got to find a lot of different ways to win. And we did that tonight. So, hard-fought game on the road, back-to-back road games. Be good to get back in the Valley next week.
Okay, thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Clemson going forward, Ed, it looks like they've got their destiny in mind.
Florida State better be prepared, and I don't care if they're healthy or not. This is a better team than them.
Clemson, a winner today at NC State, 56-41 for Ed Cunningham, Jerry Punch, and our entire crew. Mike Patrick saying so long from Raleigh, North Carolina. Now we send you to John Saunders in the studio.